Hello, my name is Gary Mansfield, and this is the Ministry of Arts podcast, where each week I'll be speaking to a different artist. Now let's begin by bagging these bongos.
Yeah, right. Crazy.
Hello, and welcome to episode 229 of the Ministry of Arts podcast. And today's episode is the last in the series of conversations that I was lucky enough to have with this year's participants in the Kensington and Chelsea Art Week. So after we've finished with this week's guest, I will be speaking to the director of the Kensington and Chelsea Art Week, just going over the episodes we've had and giving you a little reminder of where their artworks lie, because we've still got a couple of weeks left of its art trail, where all but a few of the artworks can still be found. But before I introduce you to this week's artist, let me just play you this little message. For the third consecutive year, we've partnered with the Kensington and Chelsea Art Week and Art Trail, where we get the opportunity to speak to several of their featured artists. And today's episode is one of those. But before I take you to meet him, let me just give you a little bit of information about the Kensington and Chelsea Art Week and Art Trail. The Art Week is, well, it's just a little bit longer than a week. It runs from the 22nd of June until the 2nd of July. And the Art Trail runs from the 16th of June, which is the date of release of this podcast, right up until the end of August. For the full list of featured artists and a whole lot more information, go over to the Kensington and Chelsea Art Week Instagram page, which is KCAW London, and you'll find everything there that you need. Well, today's guest is Junior Tomlin, and my personal opinion is that Junior is exactly what the Kensington and Chelsea Art Week and Trail is all about. Junior lives in the borough. Junior was born in the borough. He lives in the borough. He went to school in the borough. His jobs have been within the borough. His art journey has been within the borough. And now his artwork is being showcased within the borough. It's a beautiful story that just goes to show that if you embrace creativity and sprinkle on a little bit of passion, you can end up with a lifetime of opportunities. So please come and join me as I spoke to Junior Tomlin. How are you, mate? You good?
Not bad. Nice to meet you.
And to you. Yeah, that's pretty cool being in that Kensington and Chelsea Art Week, isn't it?
Yes, it really is. I'm quite happy. I'm quite chuffed.
Oh, so you should be, mate. So you should be. Junior, I've got 7 questions I ask each artist. And the first being, how would you explain what you do to someone that didn't know your work?
I'm a design illustrator. I create images. I'm basically an artist, a commercial artist. But I do other things besides that. Yeah, because I first started off doing computer game packaging artwork. And then I moved on into record covers, rave flyers, digital colouring, working in a special effects company, being a creature technician, and being a tutor, being a teacher. And now I can add to it mural artist and mosaic designer. So and guess what? Author.
I saw that. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
You said that you was a rave flyer designer.
Yes. Back in the day, about 1982.
Wow, man.
No, 1992. That's when I done my first rave flyer.
That's when the rave flyers were everywhere, weren't they?
Yeah. And they were big. You know, there was like, A3, then A2, and then monster size. And then it just got smaller and smaller. And nobody done artwork. It's all because in those days they used to basically pinch them from books. They used to basically do like a bit of copyright infringement using other people's images.
Yeah.
But I did mine fresh.
Oh wow.
Yeah, fresh out of the noggin.
What venues did you used to put them in? Can you remember?
They used to go to places like Laserdrome, what's it, Bagley's,
Oh yeah, nice.
that Astoria.
Yeah, I used to run the door at Astoria.
You never know, you might have done one of my events that I did for Slamming Vinyl.
Oh no, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I've done a few for that, Slamming Vinyl, yeah, and One Nation.
Oh, I remember One Nation.
Yeah, we did quite a lot of flyers for One Nation, so that's quite fun.
And you done album covers?
Album covers, my first album cover, record cover that I'd done in 1989.
Wow, bloody hell.
Yeah, and that was the classic Phantom by Renegade Soundwave.
Oh yeah, yeah, nice.
It's iconic, is that one.
So music was very much in your life. And where was it you grew up?
I grew up in good old Labatt Groves.
Well, then the music's going to be in your blood from around there, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, grew up listening to like reggae in the good old early days when there used to be like, you know, a reggae program. Was it every weekend we used to listen to? I think it was Greg Edwards or Alex Pascal.
Greg Edwards, man. Yeah, nice.
Reggae, the only show that played reggae in those days.
Brilliant. Yeah, it was a good borough to be a part of, right?
Yeah, it is.
And it's steeped in history as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, born and bred in this borough.
Was there creativity in home when you were growing up?
Not so much. My dad was, I heard later on that my dad was creative. He went to art school.
Oh, yeah. So where did your creative journey start then?
Well, my creative journey started when I went to do my foundation course in Notting Hill Gate, called a place called Byamshore School of Art.
To where? Byamshore?
Yeah, Byamshore.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to Byamshore School of Art to do a 1-year foundation because I was too late to apply to other places. And I applied to St. Martin's and Camberwell, but they didn't take me. And also at London College of Printing, they didn't have me. So somebody said, there is this place where you might get in. This is the last chance shot. So I applied and I got in.
Yeah, Byamshore's pretty cool, right?
It was great in that day.
Yeah, I applied to go there for my BA, but went elsewhere instead. And how did you find that foundation?
It's a little bit mind-blowing when you actually think back to it, because there you have 18-year-old kid who's just basically fresh from school, mixing with like people, you know, as I call it, weird and wonderful people. Because at that time it was just basically geared up for basically oil painting.
Yeah. And where did you go from there?
From there, I went to Goldsmiths College to do 3 years of graphic design.
Got you. And
yeah, because I wanted to be a graphic designer, but it didn't quite pan out in the way I thought it would.
In what the degree didn't, or being a graphic designer didn't quite pan out?
Being a graphic designer. Those ideas, because it's like I handled the briefs in more of an illustration way.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking I'm a graphic designer. Then I couldn't get a job as a graphic designer when I left, because you're going into places here with your college portfolio. So who's going to take you seriously?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So that's when I thought, let's change it all to illustration. And I used to attend this place called, One Step. And from One Step, I was a founder member of the London Cartoon Workshop.
Oh yeah, nice.
And we had like fantastic tutors coming down to basically tutor us. It was basically about getting kids to do like sequential arts. You know, we had the likes of Brian Bolland and John Burns, and who's that? David Lloyd, the guy who drew V for Vendetta.
Oh well, nice.
So I think it was him who gave me my first break, saying, "Yeah, why don't you get into doing computer game covers?" So that's how I researched computer game video covers, and I got my first gig, and it was called Sunstar many years ago, and more followed.
And how long was you in that area for?
That was about 4 or 5 years, and until everything started to become one, computerized, and two, they were using screenshots to sell the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then they no longer needed the artist, so I basically had to move on. pack my bags and move on to other things.
What came to you after you was doing the gaming?
It was the record covers. How I got into it is quite interesting because I was actually working at the London Cartoon Centre at the time as a tutor in airbrushing. One day...
And sorry, would that be airbrushing on the computer or by hand?
By hand.
Got you. Good. I was hoping you was going to say that.
Yeah. So I was there, working as an airbrush tutor. Had a couple of lessons, and then one day I was approached by a guy called, I think it was Peter Kent, and he was looking for an airbrush artist for his band, and his band happened to be Renegade Soundwave.
Nice.
And the great thing about that is that the offices was in Harrow Road, just after you go over from Kensal Road over the Halfpenny Steps, and there's the offices there. That's now it's now a chemist. So that's how I got into it. Yeah, so I done my first record cover. It was called the Phantom. It's like an iconic cover. Everybody remembers it from 1989.
Yeah,
and more followed. And then I also worked with other companies in the area, like Kicking Records and Vinyl Solution.
So to this point, your creative career focused wholly sort of in the borough. So it grew and sort of blossomed in the borough itself. Brilliant.
Yeah. And then I go to, you go to fairs and you meet people.
Yeah.
And then people will phone you up because of the previous work that you've done. And then I get like more, record cover commissions to do. So that was my first record cover for Renegade Soundwave called The Phantom. So consequently, I've done 2 other record covers for them. But you do form friendships with some of the people in the band, 2 of which that I still keep in contact with.
Oh, nice. Which piece that you've created has got the strongest emotional connection to you, Junior?
Oh boy. That's a strange word, emotional connection.
Well, what one has just meant the most to you? What one sort of stands out?
To me, I think it's the first, the first of doing it. Anyone, it's like the first one I'd done to do computer game covers. That resonates to me because that was the first one that's basically broke my road, that broke the mold, that basically set me up to do others. In the record covers, it's the Renegade Soundwave one. In the rave, it's Rave World. Yeah, nice. Because it's the one that basically it gets you in there.
Yeah. And
then subsequently, you could do more from it, but you always remember the first one you ever did. There would be others along the way where it's better than the one I have more emotional input with.
Yeah. Well, the first one is that one where you're being accepted in that field, isn't it?
Yes.
That's when you feel that you are a part of it rather than you want to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The more you turn out, the more people see your work, and that's the part of the beauty of it, because you're not only giving somebody a piece of artwork, it's basically like a little advertisement of what you do.
Yeah,
and it's going to be bought or given to say like 250,000 or 500,000 people, and you're thinking, yeah.
When I was growing up, the only artwork in my life was record covers, and I think, and I know I'm going to sound like an old man here, but the lads of today have really missed out on something beautiful that is an album or a single, because I've mentioned this on here a few times. Like, my boy will listen on Spotify, listen to the first 5 or 10 seconds of a song and swipe through. And I'll be like, oh man, when we heard a new album was coming out, you'd go into the record shop, you'd sift through, you'd listen to the records in there, be part of the atmosphere. On the way home, you'd sort of memorize the whole playlist on the back of the album before you've even got home to play it. And then for the next week, your needle is on that album all week.
Yeah.
And it was something quite special.
It was quite beautiful, where you would buy an album only because it's got one track that you like on it.
Yeah.
Like, how many albums have you ever bought here where you like 99 or 100 tracks on it, because you've got 10 tracks on an album. You're not going to like all 10. You will always end up liking about 4 or 5.
And when you be flicking through the albums, you might even just see an album cover that stands out, and you buy the album just for the album cover, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then find out later about the musician that's on there.
I did the same thing when I got my interest perked up when it comes to like science fiction art. I won a competition when I was at school. I was given like, I think it was like £10 W.H. Smith's voucher. So I went out there and, I bought like, what kids really like, a compass set and
yeah, of course,
protractor, a ruler, rubber, pencil. Yeah. Then I had some money left over. So what did I do? I was looking in the book section and I found this book here. It was called The Early Asimov, because I liked the cover of the book. And guess what? I bought it. And guess what? It will be another 4 years before I read the thing.
And was it any good?
It was good.
Was it as good as the cover?
It was as good as the cover. That sparked my interest in wanting to become a science fiction illustrator.
There you
science
go.
Fiction book illustrator. So my work is it tends to be like sci-fi, fantasy, Afrofuturism with slices of like surrealism thrown in.
Brilliant. And could you imagine you'd be 4 years further down the line if you read that book straight away, wouldn't you?
That is true. But it's quite interesting because everything has got its own time.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
It probably needed me to basically like wait there and have nothing to do until I was ready to read that book.
Super.
And then when I read that book, I was basically like, nearly there. When I was in secondary school now, there was a trip to Margate. I found this bookshop and I found more of the same artwork by the same artist. So I ended up buying like several more books, science fiction books, because I like that particular style, the space, the fantasy, and that was in the time there when, Star Wars came out.
That changed cinema, that changed science fiction, didn't it? Changed everything.
God bless you, George Lucas.
Then you moved into that area, being a colorist. How did that come about? Because that's a hard thing to get into, I would have thought. Yeah,
I got into that by somebody that I used to go to the London Cartoon Centre with. Yeah, my friend, Martin, because he was working for Marvel Panini at the time. They was like based up in Kent. I think it was Tunbridge Wells. And he heard on the grapevine that they was looking for a colorist to do Action Man, because they wanted to basically change the style of coloring on Action Man, because before it used to basically be like flat color, cuts, gradation, and they wanted it to be more molded, a bit more like full. 3D, a bit more full, a bit more smoother, where you can he's actually got dimension. I sent him 1 or 2 samples, and then I got the gig, and it was a great gig too.
Nice. And how long was you on that for?
I was on that for about 2 years.
Nice. And
the beauty of that is that I used to get 10 pages a month to do with Action Man, and it was just a good gig, and it was great pay.
Good.
It was great pay.
Yeah, you'd like those every month, wouldn't you?
Yes. And then from there, I got into doing Transformers Armada.
Wow. Spectacular
Spider-Man, and a whole lot of like pocketbook covers. It's all quite fun because something ringing them up and say, have you got any colouring? Have you got any colouring? I say, yeah. And then I got into working for Kensington Chelsea College.
When was that?
That was in the late 90s.
Got you. And what was you doing there?
I was a tutor, teaching people how to use like Adobe Illustrator.
Nice.
Yeah, and the spin-off of that is that when they came up with summer courses, I was to do like a 5-week summer course here at Hortensia College, teaching Adobe Illustrator. You need a Wacom tablet, otherwise drawing with a mouse is akin to drawing with a brick.
It is. I've tried it myself so many times.
Yeah. If you like blunt artwork, use a brick.
And how long was you at Kensington Chelsea College for?
I think I was there for 2-3 years. My redundancy was the same amount of money for the tax that I had to pay. So that cancelled each other out.
That's funny.
Well, when you look back at it, it's amusing.
Yeah. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, your career seems to have just been all around Kensington and Chelsea. Now it's gone into a little bit of a new field, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's gone to more or less community driven now. Brilliant. Which is I find it quite exhilarating. Giving back to the community that basically raised me, so to speak.
Yeah. You've created a mural that is part of the Kensington and Chelsea Art Week and Art Trail. Tell us a bit about it, Junior.
Well, how that happened to come about here is that I was contacted by Vestalia. Yeah, they was having that consultation. They asked me to come and sit in on 2 consultations where they had members of the community who lived in Gorban Ward. Yeah. To come in and talk about their experience and their views about what they would like to see on the wall. I went there, equipped with a piece of paper and a pen. Yeah. So I drew out these long pillar box grids. So when they were talking about what they would like to see, everyone was talking, I'm just scribbling them down. Scribbling them down. And then 8 ideas later, you park that. I was put forward to actually as one of the people to create the mural. So it went to a voting process. It was me and two other artists. And the lovely thing is that I thought I wasn't going to win, but guess what? They voted for me. Thank you. And then I won, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, and it's nice that it's people from your community that have put you forward to create something in that community, right?
Yeah.
And what is the mural?
The mural, it's basically for the children. It's called "Children Are Rising Stars."
Brilliant.
So there's a lot of stars in the mural, which are basically to me the depiction of children. They're the stars.
Give us some dimensions just for people listening, so they can get an idea. What's the width and height of the mural, roughly?
About 8 foot by 60 foot.
Oh, there you go. Straight off the top of your head. And what is it visually?
It's got a whole lot of interconnected themes. Yeah, one is the stars that represent the children. Yeah. 2 is the wavy lines can also represent the children's journey, as well as there's musical notes there, because that entire area every year is home to Panorama, the Battle of the Steel Pans.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's 2 representations, or 3 of steel pan design. Both ends, there's 2 round symbols here with the steel pan designs.
Oh yeah, I can see.
Yeah,
because the wall itself has got several large circular holes cut into it, hasn't it?
Yeah. So I basically tried to use those round windows, but the complication of my design means that I couldn't do concentric circles around it.
No, of course.
But it's been simplified a bit. But I love it.
It looks stunning, doesn't it? And even on the floor as well. Were those stars already on the floor of the
park?
No,
that's the beauty of it. Yeah, it's I didn't know the design of the park before I done the mural. So when we got there to think, wow, there's already stars there, so it reflects perfectly.
Yeah,
what's happening.
So the wall, for anyone who doesn't know the park itself, the wall is at the edge of a play park. A lot of the play parks have a very soft surface. The floor looks to be very dark, possibly navy blue or black, with these big yellow stars that are possibly 8 feet in diameter.
Yeah, they're big stars.
And then on your design, the stars, there's stars all about. So it looks like you've designed the entire park. And is mural painting something you'd like to go forward with?
I am really intrigued by it, because I've seen murals that people have done on street art around the world, and it looks amazing.
You mentioned about you doing airbrush work. Do you think you could upscale one of your old covers and put that on a wall, do you think?
That would be amazing if someone asked me to do that. Yeah, I just have to think and plan it.
For anyone that will be going to see the artwork on the Kensington and Chelsea Art Trail, just tell us again where to find your artwork and its title.
You find it at Helsmead Horniman's Pleasance on the Kensal Road, opposite Camelot Studios.
Yeah, I know.
And it's the play area when you see the lovely colour and the lovely wave of lines, and then you found it.
Follow the stars. That's a good line, isn't it?
Yeah, follow the stars.
And Junior, where can anyone find what you're doing, be it website or social media?
Instagram, you type in Junior Tomlin, it comes straight up. Facebook, same thing, Junior Tomlin. You can also go to juniortomlin.com. That's my website.
Yeah.
And as I said before, I've also got a book out there.
You've become an author. Tell us about that.
That was one of the great ones because in 2020, I was emailed by Colin Stephen, the guy who runs Velocity Press. They do like electronic music books, and he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. He asked me, "Isn't it about time that you had a book of your work out?" And I said, "Yeah." So that's how it was done.
What is the title of the book you've got?
Junior Tomlin Flyer and Cover Art.
And what can people expect to see inside it? 30
years of my artwork, flyers and record covers.
There's obviously the words inside is your sort of biography, if you like.
Yeah, it's got an interview that I did with Chelsea Berlin. Yeah, she wrote the foreword. It was quite good because I asked for her, personally, and she felt honoured that I asked her. So I'm quite happy. Because that was 2020. We was going to have a launch, but of course, COVID mashed up the plans.
Oh man, that got in the way of everything, didn't it?
But three times. But it's been a good journey because from the back of that, I've had more work and more people has actually rediscovered that I'm still around, knocking out work.
Brilliant. And where can anyone get that book, Junior?
Go to velocitypress.com.
Right, brilliant, Junior. That's all my questions asked, mate. Thank you very much for your time. I've really enjoyed it.
It's been a blast.
And I absolutely love the fact that you was born in the borough and pretty much your entire creative journey has been within that borough, a true representation of Kensington and Chelsea. Good on you, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, just as a little recap, I've been joined by Vistalia Chilton, director of the Kensington Chelsea Art Week and Art Trail. Hiya, Vistalia.
Hiya.
As this is the last episode that's just been aired, I thought we'd have a little recap on the episodes that we've featured this year. We've done 10 episodes, great conversations, brilliant artwork. The first episode I've done was episode 220, which was with Burunji and Bakani. Is their artwork still on show?
Yes, indeed. Black Women at Rest is a mural that's located in Preston Road. In fact, we've just installed another mural there,
Nice.
which was done in collaboration with students from Morley College. This was their first public artwork, so it's something to enjoy, but also please understand that this was their first attempt. So you could see how hard it is really to get to a level where Burunji and Bakani are. But yes, the We Rest, Black Women at Rest mural is on Preston Road, opposite Bramley Studio, and it was done in collaboration with the Mayor of London, who commissioned it as part of the Commission for Diversity of London, celebrating all the different voices from different backgrounds that live and enjoy and work in London. And this mural was created to celebrate and then maybe encourage women to rest. And it's very important to both artists that they promote health and well-being within their own work and don't burn out. One other very important point, this mural was curated by Black Blossoms School of Art, and this is our third collaboration with the Black Blossoms organization, which supports education within the arts for Black women and men.
Brilliant. Then we spoke to Malgorzata. That was a fun episode because I think she was in, was it Bucharest when I spoke to her?
She was in Prague, I believe.
Prague, that's
Yeah.
right. But yeah, a good conversation. I didn't know Malgorzata, but yeah, it was a great chat we had. Where's her artwork on show?
Well, I loved that episode because it also gave me an insight to some of the background of Malgorzata. Her work was installed in Cromwell Place, a wonderful institution right in the center of South Kensington. This building is a very beautiful, restored building. It houses some of the top level galleries and international museums for temporary shows. So we were very lucky to be in that space,
Yeah.
surrounded by this glamour of high art. And Malgorzata's piece was installed in the courtyard, climbing the walls of the building, and it looked absolutely phenomenal.
It looked amazing.
It really did. It was just very organic and very beautifully executed. And we were very pleased with the result. The installation is now finished, so it was installed from 22nd of June to the 2nd of July during Art Week.
Brilliant. Sarah Jameson, that was episode 221. I hadn't seen Sarah's work before, but again, another great conversation I had. I learned a lot from that conversation, and it sounds like Sarah's got quite a lot coming in front of her.
That interview was brilliant. You know, I do listen to every single one of them, and I love them so much. This was an insightful conversation specifically on the background of Sarah and her background from Pakistan, and that she in a way led a double life and escaped from a certain cultural background into a new world through art, which is something really liberating. And she is enjoying her new life as an artist, I suppose, but she hasn't given up on her background. It's quite interesting to see how much respect she has for it, but from another perspective. And it was a very moving interview, actually. It's very personal. Her work is on at the Exhibitionist Hotel. It is sort of an unusual calligraphy project that she created based on her own version of the Quran and the Arabic text and how it's written as symbols. So she's created her own language through that, and she calls it Arabesque. And that exhibition is on for the rest of the summer, and she will be doing a lot of events because she's so multifaceted. She paints, she draws, and she also loves digital work. So she is leading on our digital programming for Art Week and Art Trail. So her exhibition is constantly being innovated and infused with digital art, NFTs. And she is planning some really interesting food-related events where you have experiences of AI and digital technology and arts all coming together. It sounds absolutely amazing.
It was a real good conversation, and I don't really know much about a few of the areas she works, but the conversation that we had really did highlight those.
Yes,
we had Peter Morris, the architect, episode 218, and I was able to go and see that work. That was in a beautiful setting, wasn't it? The Cloud Wendy House.
Yes. Cloud House, Wendy House.
Cloud House, Wendy House. I apologise.
Oh, it's absolutely fine. I think sometimes people just call it Cloud House, and it's important that it has the Wendy House element to it because it is a sort of a relationship to Peter Pan and sort of childhood, and this is sort of a version of a larger house he's building. He's actually building a real house for himself and his family, which is based on this, I suppose, maquette, which is life-size, and you could see it still in Holland Park in Napoleon Garden until the end of summer again. So there is still a chance to go and have a look at it and enjoy its very surreal pink color in the midst of the beautiful green flora surrounding it. It really does feel like it's out of this world and in dreamland somewhere.
The episode that I had with Satur Chong, which was bonus episode 34, I didn't know Satur's work, but what a conversation that was. She has a real calming quality about her, doesn't she?
Yes, she does. Yes, she is one of the artists who is probably at the beginning of her artistic career. And this is what we love about the Art Trail. There is a mixed bag of established artists and artists that are coming into the realm of finding themselves, and it gives me great privilege to be able to give a stepping stone to artists who might need a little bit of hand holding, which we do, and we produce a lot of the art trail from scratch. A lot of people don't realize that we actually produce the sculptures especially and curate them and work with artists. And in this instance, we really helped Satur to understand what kind of piece of art she was going to create. Initially, it was a static concept, but then very clearly she is a performance artist. But she probably hasn't realized this fully yet, but a lot of her work is performance based. And she did a wonderful tea ceremony in the South Kensington area, right in front of thousands of people, drinking tea out of a teapot that was modeled by her, out of cast iron, and mounted on a manhole. So it's called the manhole tea ceremony. And it has a dark undertone because she talks about the drainage and sewage systems that are dark and menacing, and that it all lives underneath the city. But we sort of pretend it doesn't exist. So it's really going into the background of what reality is, and it's not always very beautiful and polished. It is also full of stench and darkness, and you cannot exist without one or the other.
Well, I don't know if I left it in the episode. I can't remember now, but I am recommended to her that she goes forward with that tea set and try to produce it as a saleable item, not necessarily a limited edition or an art piece, if you like, but just a consumer piece. I thought it was an absolutely beautiful teapot and cups.
They are. You did include it in the talk,
good.
Yes, and I think that's a great idea. I know she laughed, probably very humbly, thinking that thank you so much, and I really encourage her to do it, and I think she might do it as well. I would love to have it. It's such a beautiful object.
Well, I was out in London with my wife, and we was in the area of Kensington and Chelsea, and we popped over to see Lucy Oates. She'd only just started undercoating that massive expanse of tarmac that she had to work on.
Yes, that was a project and a half. It's actually probably the most interesting project that came out of Art Trail this year, in terms of how much good it did to people who took part. Lucy is an incredible artist, and just to summarize what she did is she painted a very large floor mural with the help of the local community, which is an abstract piece based on her collages that was accepted by the landowners, Earlscourt Development Company. And now as you come out of the station, you could see this incredible, I think it's probably 800 square meters of colour, which is done in such an extraordinary quality, to such an extraordinary quality. But the reason why it was so powerful, if of course from visual perspective, it's very, very exciting to see it, just the sheer size of it. But the most important element is the collaboration with the local community. We had some very powerful messages from some of the members of the community who took part, in all different ages, children and elderly and so forth. And one particular person commented that she was in a particularly difficult moment in her life, and when this opportunity came to literally paint the floor, she really got involved, and it brought a lot of positivity into her life. In fact, we're taking it to the next level, and there'll be a performance on that place, a recorded performance next week. We'll be doing some more filming. But the level of engagement that this project created and so much positivity and collaboration, it really was a very satisfying art project to deliver.
And episode 223, Josephine Chimay, that is a beautiful piece of work, just along from Harrods itself at Knightsbridge Station, the new entrance and exit. And what I did like was when I was looking for Hooper's Court itself, I was walking down the main road there, and there was a small alleyway. And when you look down, it opens up into Hooper's Court, and you can see her sculpture standing proud at the bottom there.
Yes, it's beautiful. Her installation is based on mind, body, and soul. And it's a giant hair comb, a traditional African hair comb. It's such a beautiful and larger than life installation, and it just really works in that space because it is like you say, it's next door to Harrods. It's very, very busy junction. You can barely walk in the street and the pavement because there's a crowd of people. It's very Oxford Circus sort of type feel, dusty, busy, everyone's beeping their horns. And you go into this tiny little well of calm and relaxation, and you have seating there as well. So you can sit down, reflect, breathe in the fresh air because you've got a live wall right next to you full of real plants, and just look at the sculpture and just feel the tranquility that it brings on. And there is a sense of humor, tongue-in-cheek comments, of course, in the body and soul, and the sort of the twisted fabric on top of the comb is representing her body. And she said her crooked feet, you can see some fingers and toenails and so forth. But she's hidden it really well. You wouldn't necessarily assume, but it does have this sort of idea. It's a comment on how we view our own bodies, and how we sort of look after ourselves, and what tools we use to bring ourselves into the world, and maybe cover up or not cover up, and be honest with ourselves.
Well, what I liked about that episode is where it was recorded on site. You had all of the noise of London passing by as we was chatting. You had the dust cart even emptying the rubbish bins behind us. We did have to stop for a few moments because it did get a little too loud. But yeah, that was a great recording.
Yeah.
Episode 225, which was Misha Milovanovic. I'd not spoke to Misha before. I'd seen her work around for a long time. But speaking to her, it's just a relaxing experience just chatting to Misha, isn't it?
She's phenomenal. I really love her work. I love her ethos. She's absolutely one of those artists who's obsessed with quality and shape, and everything she does has a much more sort of so many levels to the process than meets the eye. I think she makes everything look really easy and simple, but with simplicity there's always a lot of hard graft. And her installation is a beautiful pink sculpture made of steel, which is standing next to High Street Kensington, where currently at Ai Weiwei is installed, so just down the road from there. And it is a celebration of the female form, but also an element of paganism and fire. There's a movement. It's very interesting how the sculpture looks like it's moving as if it is a fire, like the blades of fire changing shape and manipulating itself, the chemicals going through the air. And it does look like that, but it's a very gentle installation. It just calms you down, like you say. And despite its movement, it looks very calming and very reassuring. So it's a very beautiful work, and it's still
it looks amazing in situ, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It just looks out of this world again. It's everything normal around it, the cars and the buses, and suddenly you have this incredible sculpture, which is a unique piece. Yes.
And episode 227, which was Lee Baker from Baker and Borowski, speaking about the 3 bench installations that they'd installed in and around the King's Road. I saw a couple of those and had a picture taken of myself sitting on the one outside the Saatchi Gallery. Baker and Borowski, graphic rewilding, never fails to hit the spot, does it?
Oh, it's brilliant. It was really nice to see the installations. I think the first time I saw something like that, because this is the first time they've made those benches. We collaborated with MTech, our logistics, to build them. But the installation that they had that looked very similar was for another project that they did. And I remember seeing them literally in the cloud of flowers. And I thought, oh, that would be so nice to create that. And then suddenly Lee and Catherine suggest that they should build flower clouds. And I thought, this is it. This is it. We have to do this. This is going to be phenomenal. And we worked to create themes that would reflect Chelsea's heritage. The one in King's Road reflects the psychedelia of the 60s, the Chelsea Physic Garden, the botanical and health-related flora that grows there, so medicinal flowers. The one that's in Duke of York's, the one you say in Saatchi, near Saatchi Gallery, is based on Mary Quant, who whose famous daisy was her logo. So that has all the daisies and the colours from Mary Quant's designs, and very light pinks and blacks and whites. And so, Lee is extraordinary because he paints all of that by hand and then creates the graphic rewilding. That gives it that extra level of craft and dedication. And the last one is based on the royal palette. We tried to reflect the coronation and celebrate that, but also Sloane Street is undergoing a massive redesign and relaying of the street, where they are rewilding the street and making it far more greener and much more accessible by pedestrians and on foot. So making it really designed for the 21st century, moving away from car use as much as possible. So that's also a reflection on the type of flowers they will be using, and they are looking at sustainable gardens instead of the ones that need a lot of water. So the designs for the rewilding of Sloane Street are really about very, very sustainable plants that they're planting that don't require constant watering, that can survive in unusual circumstances of a city which might undergo a bit of drought or very extreme temperatures. So that's where that design came from. It was inspired by the rewilding of Sloane Street and the coronation.
Brilliant. And I'm very much looking forward to what they've got coming up next. And the last episode, which was possibly one of my favourites to record, which was the one that's just finished, bonus episode number 35, Junior Tomlin. He is such an eager, interesting, brilliant designer. And I love the fact that he was born in the borough, went to school in the borough, went to college in the borough, has worked all his life in the borough, and now he's showing his art in the borough. Everything about him is Kensington and Chelsea.
Yeah. Junior is a legend. I don't know if he told you, but he is the Salvador Dali of rave.
He's brilliant. Yes, brilliant.
He was in the most amazing, best show, I think, since I remember, at Saatchi Gallery, which was Beyond the Streets, which is a call out to all the graffiti writers and street artists out there, and the sort of the rave scene. And of course, Junior's rave posters were included in that show. So we all went to the opening, which was very crazy opening, as you would imagine. There was a lot of people who would look like they would go to the raves and they haven't stopped. So
still raving after 30 years. I felt very comfortable. Brilliant.
So Junior's legendary status goes beyond his living and working in Kensington, because he has produced some of the most famous posters for raves and also gaming. So he's got a huge following, and he has a book which I've bought as well that's come out recently, Junior Tomlin, which is well worth buying, and it gives you a bit more of an insight of who he is really. And his work we created with collaboration with Royal College of Art students, again about professional development, teaching them how to work outside under the leadership of Junior. It's a consultation that I led. I led this consultation with North Camden community to find out what they wanted to have on their children's playground mural. And they suggested 3 artists, and we collaborated with all 3 artists to create designs that were then put to public vote. And the local public, the Golborne ward, selected Junior. It was a very tight, I have to admit, the designs by the other 2 artists were fantastic. It was a very tight score, but Junior was the favorite one. So we produced a mural, which is a very large mural, on the Emsley Horniman wall, children's playground wall. And Junior, being Junior, the kind and generous person, the soul that he has, is a wonderful human being. He wanted to collaborate with the local school, so we brought in the children from the Arc Brunel Academy, Primary Academy, who then also held an art day that inspired his final design. And of course, they were able to put their handprints on the finished mural.
Excellent.
Sort of to tie it all up together, because the title of the mural is Children Are Our Rising Stars. So these the stars in the mural represent all the stars who are our children, and then they put the handprints on top of it as well. So you can really see that they really have some ownership of their own playground, and they're designed by Junior. It was a really, really fun project to work on, and of course it's now permanently installed, so you can see it anytime.
Brilliant. And Kensington and Chelsea Art Trail is still on as we speak. And when does it finish, Vestalia?
We finish at the end of August.
As we speak, there's still 2 weeks left to go and see the artworks that we've mentioned. Okay, Vestalia, thank you very much for your time and allowing me to run through each episode that we've recorded this year.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for doing it. It's a real pleasure to listen to each artist having a conversation with you, and the response is always from them is always that it was initially they were very nervous, but then you make them feel very calm and reassured. And
oh, excellent. Good.
They always have a very enjoyable chat with you, and that's so it's universal. Every time anyone has an interview with you, that's what they tell me.
The only person I've found so far that doesn't enjoy a conversation with me is my wife. Brilliant. Vestalia, I'll let you get back on with your day, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank
All
you.
the best. Bye-bye.
Hello, I'm Vestalia Chilton, the director of Kensington and Chelsea Art Week and Art Trail. You've just been listening to one of our featured artists. Make sure to keep these dates. For the Art Trail starts on the 15th of June and lasts all summer, and Art Week starts on the 22nd of June and ends on the 2nd of July. All of this information is on our website, kcaw.co.uk. We look forward to welcoming you.
Well, hope you enjoyed that episode of the Ministry of Arts podcast. So we wasn't dictated to by advertisers. We decided from the offset to go ad-free, which means obviously we had to self-fund. So we set up the Ministry of Arts Patreon page. And without that support, we would not be able to produce this podcast. So if you like what you hear and you're able to support the podcast, just go over to the Ministry of Arts Instagram profile. You'll find a Linktree drop-down box, which will direct you straight to our Patreon page. And for the price of a cup of coffee, you can help keep us growing week by week. But if you're not able to do that, that's fine, because this content is free for everyone. But leaving a review on whichever platform you listen to your podcast, that really does help us get noticed and anyone else looking for an art podcast. Or even giving us a positive shout out on your social media. Everything is appreciated. But either way, thanks for listening, and until next week, ta-da.